Transmission start. Welcome to Where Did the Road Go? Join us as we wander off the path and explore lost history, consciousness, the paranormal, unexplained mysteries, alternative thought, and much more. We are present on the web at wheredidtheroadgo.com. Now here is your host, Soraya.
Welcome to this edition of Where Did the Road Go? Tonight I'm going to be airing part 2 of my interview with Keith Linder, whose house in Seattle was very, very haunted. And one of the comments I got on part 1 was people saying that Ghost Adventures had debunked this. Well, we talk about this in this interview about Ghost Adventures being there, but keep in mind, Ghost Adventures is entertainment. It is not serious research like, for instance, what Steve Mera did when he went in. They were there for a couple of weeks. Other groups went in for a few weeks to investigate this house. Ghost Adventures, I believe he says, were there about 6 hours. There are other reasons why they may not have captured anything, and of course people will throw out, well, they also fake stuff. I don't know if they fake stuff or not. I've never seen any evidence one way or the other. I wouldn't be surprised because, again, it is entertainment and you need the ratings. That being said, you can do a lot with editing, and that's one of the things that happened with the Demons in Seattle case on Ghost Adventures. So, yeah, he'll talk about that later on in this part. So don't be so quick to dismiss it. This has been verified on a number of levels that something weird was happening at this house, and it's a very intriguing situation. If you're a Patreon, you already heard part 2. Next week's show will be Laird Scranton talking about his new book on Scarabray. And, of course, you can listen to every show we've ever done at wheredidtheroadgo.com. If you want to become a patron, you can do so there as well. You'll get some extra content here and there, and multi-part shows like this you'll get right away. All right, without any further ado, here is the rest of my conversation with Keith Linder. All right, and we are back with Keith Linder for the second part of this conversation on his Demons in Seattle house, or however you want to refer to it. So we ended last time talking about things moving, the Bibles and stuff catching fire. Now, one of the things about the Bibles, I believe Steve Mera mentioned, and I don't remember who did the test on it, if it was you or him, but the Bibles, if you put a match to them, they go up quick.
Yeah, they do, yeah.
And these were not burned with normal, I want to say normal fire, but I mean, they were not burned all the way through like it would if you put a match to them.
Right. The Steve and Don did a test of the Bibles while here, their first trip, and they was trying to, entertain the thought of that phenomena, how it would transpire. But you're right. If you if you and I put a match to a Bible, the results are going to be different than what people can see of the Bible, because the pictures are out there of how the Bibles look today. You're going to get a different result. And they were not able to reduplicate that end effect or damage effect, if you will. But what they were able to sort of ascertain, as it seems these Bibles, not the first one, but the last 2, it seems there's some sort of heat element, heat exposure on an equilibrium, because all the pages sort of singe equally and toward the middle of the book. It's almost like a lattice effect, and it's not something that a match or a lighter could do or would do, but it is thin paper. It's very thin, and it just seems that when these Bibles burnt, keep in mind, when they came back burnt, they did disappear. Now, there is a theory, and Steve talked about that as well, as was there an element to where the Bibles burnt to the degree because they were teleported or they were moved and therefore got the way they were. Because some people have talked about when objects are thrown, there is an element of heat to it.
Yeah.
We've never experienced that. I've tried to pick up objects immediately after they've been thrown to rule that out or rule it in. Nothing I've ever picked up was hot to the touch or warm to the touch. But that second Bible, what's interesting about that Bible, or the third Bible that was on my bookshelf that got more severely burned than any other of the Bibles, is there's no burnt or smoke residue on that bookshelf. Now, there's a bookshelf about less than a foot above the other bookshelf, maybe 12 inches above the other bookshelf, and the Bible is sitting on the first. And it's severely burned. I mean, it's ash, but there's no heat, no smoke, no residue on the bookshelf, not even the outer rim of the Bible to make you suggest that the heat of the book left some sort of mark on the shelf. But most importantly, the wood above that bookshelf, which is the second bookshelf, there's nothing on the ceiling of that bookshelf. There's no smoke, there's no residue, there's no damage. So the phenomenon in itself seems to suggest that either that Bible was teleported and reappeared and was in that condition, or how are they able to burn it, if you will, and not contaminate the immediate area? I mean, if I burn a Bible and sit it on a bookshelf, the flames and the smoke are going to reach to the other bookshelf. It's just there's no way of avoiding that. Okay, the wall is going to have some ash or some residue. The area is, for all intents and purposes, sterile after the Bible is burnt, and the pictures and the videos are there for somebody to look at and ascertain themselves. But it just adds to the phenomena of what went down to make those Bibles get burnt the way they did.
It almost reminds me of the spontaneous human combustion type of phenomena where the person will burn without setting anything around them on fire.
Right. And yeah, exactly. And if you notice, I don't know if you look, the poster, which did catch fire in my office, did have other areas of the office catch fire because there were flames. I saw flames on that poster. I was in my bathroom, and when the poster caught fire, it set off the alarm. And when I walked into the office, there were flames dancing on my poster. But that's physics. That's me physically seeing flames. And even the first Bible that was burnt on the hallway, sitting on the hallway, you can see the smoke and the ash on the carpet, on the door, and whatnot on the wall. But once again, I saw flames. These other two Bibles, I've never seen flames off them. It's almost after the fact. There is a spontaneous combustion, if you will, of something transpiring.
Now, what kind of other stuff, fire-wise, did you have to deal with?
The cross. We had a cross on the wall in the hallway that caught fire. This was Halloween night of 2014. I think this was a cross that was given us by one of the priests. We decided to hang it up in the living room. We came back from a Halloween party. What's funny about this night is this is the first time the puddles of water appeared on the kitchen floor, in addition to the burnt cross and the interesting wall markings. Also, I've had a shirt catch fire with me wearing it. Yeah, that was, and Tina noticed it before I did. And let me clarify the term catch fire. There was no flames, obviously, but we were investigating some loud noises in the hallway. There had been a series of loud bangings and objects being thrown. And me and Tina walked up to the hallway to start looking for it. And as we're walking, going from room to room, Tina says, "Oh my God, your shirt, you got burnt marks all over your shirt." So I look, take my shirt off, and toward the bottom area on the back are scorched marks. It's just burnt. And we look at that, and she's like shaking her head, I'm shaking my head. And this itself goes more so in the category of the Bibles being burnt, because you don't smell smoke. The shirt is in fact burnt, it's destroyed. There's no heat. There's burnt marks all over it. And this must have happened within seconds, because we walked up to the stairs together, and she noticed it before I did. I hate I threw that shirt away. I kept it for a while, but Tina was so distraught about something that personal being close, she threw it away.
And that, I don't know. It seems like with things not bursting into actual flames in a lot of cases, it seems like it's the energy's getting excited on them in a sense. Like it's not so much fire being applied to them as in something is exciting the electrons to the point where they're almost on fire.
Yeah, I think, because going back to my high school days when I used to work in fast food, I used to work at Jack in the Box. And one of the things, you have a fryer. You put the fryers out, and you put the fryer in the thing and you sit it in the fry tray. But to keep the French fries warm, there's a heat lamp. Okay, the heat lamp goes across the entire tray, keeps the fries hot. But I did notice that it was set at a certain temperature. But if you crank that temperature up, the paper that's holding the French fry, it would singe the edges, meaning the edges of that paper would singe,
Right.
and it would singe in a equal area. I mean, the whole thing would singe, and it's that, I think, element of equal amount of heat applied immediately can have the effect of a spontaneous, to where you can get something to burn. It's almost, when they say if you're ever, stranded in the woods or forest, how to make fire from glass, well, get glass, aim the sun, get something dry, and then you're going to watch hay or grass over time will get hot, gets hot enough. Doesn't just do a quick brush, but you will see smoke first. This is one of those times you see smoke first. You see a little bit of amber, and you're like, okay, I think we're getting good. Oh, behold, we have fire. I think it's something like that, but more of on a faster scale, because these things, they have the ability, how can I say this? They have the ability to almost will it to happen, and it will happen. I know that based on the poster catching fire and some of the other things that happen in the house. It seems if they want to make it happen, they just make it happen.
At what point did you start calling paranormal groups?
Well, we started. We're about to call paranormal groups in early 2012. Then the activity stopped, and we dialed that back. We went to churches first before we went to paranormal team.
Mm-hmm.
I started calling paranormal groups. One was when the armoire got thrown. That was the first paranormal team that we called after a long search of the house being attacked. Found some people online, but a lot of teams didn't want to respond because we're telling people via email that these things are happening, and a lot of paranormal teams thought we were faking it because they just found it unbelievable. They just found that, okay, yeah, if you got a Bible burner, send us an email or video and we'll get back to you. But it took us a while to finally find teams that would just respond based on what we were saying alone. And those teams are the ones I've just mentioned, the Nikki and the Carissas and the Steve and Dawn, whatnot. But some of the other local teams, we had to really provide them a lot of information before they would even show up on site. Every team that showed up on site, with the exception of Ghost Adventures, were wowed and awed. I mean, that's just how it was. It was not so much the manner in which they conducted their investigation. It was just the manner in which the entities were willing to provide them information, because they were just, they come in expecting one thing, thinking they're going to solve the puzzle of the possum stuck in the attic, and lo and behold, a chair will appear in front of everybody's eyes, or an object will levitate, and they're like, "Whoa! This is a real case. Oh, okay, yeah." And then that's when they really put on their investigative hats on. But a lot of teams walked in the door thinking that this is just a walk in the park, and were very shocked to see that it wasn't.
Now, when stuff would appear, would it just suddenly be there, like you just didn't notice it almost?
Yeah, just instantly. Instantly.
So it wouldn't fade in or anything like that. It would just be there.
It would just be there. It's like I told Tina, and I told Stephen, I call it the between eye blink effect, because one day me and Tina were downstairs watching TV again, and Tina has a throw rug, I think some sort of Persian rug or something, but it's on the floor, and I think we're watching TV, and all of a sudden, this rug, which is laying flat, has been laying flat for years. All of a sudden, it's now folded up. It's now rolled up. And you know how a rug is rolled up when you buy it?
Mm-hmm.
This is how this rug was rolled up in front of us. Now, there's no period of it rolling, because if we would have been sitting there and saw the rug rolling to its final form, that's another story. then we have time to react, leap up and say, oh, what the heck is going on, or whatever, move away or whatever. No, we're sitting watching TV. This rug is right underneath us, right in front of us. And all of a sudden you blink. It had to happen within a blink. It's rolled up. Okay. It went from flat to being rolled up in less than a nanosecond. And we both was looking there because we're like, how did this rug get rolled up? And you can't even ask the question because you don't even remember it rolling up. Okay. And it's just rolled up. It's not halfway rolled up. It's not moving. We didn't catch it in mid action or what. It's rolled up. It's almost like we brought it in the house that day. And like I said, it happens within an eye blink. Some objects move from, point A to point B that fast. I truly believe some other objects that we never pretty much paid attention to probably move the same way. But yeah, it's just interesting. I don't know how that's done. I do not know. Do they take us out of it and reinsert us back in? I don't know.
Did you ever?
Movies where they do that. I've seen Back to the Future many times as a kid, and I've seen Star Trek episodes where the higher civilization freezes Captain Kirk and them and does all this stuff and then reinserts them back, and nobody's the wiser. But I do not know.
Do you have any instances of like missing time or anything like that?
No. I mean,
Okay.
outside of the objects, but never a where did time go or lost track of time. Nothing like that. No.
What about lights? Did you ever see lights in the house?
You mean like little dots?
Yeah, like orbs or anything like that, like self-illuminating type of stuff.
There have been teams that have caught that. About 3 paranormal teams have caught light phenomena, a few orb phenomena, unexplained weirdness with lights and shadows. Dawn caught a very interesting phenomena on the flare. I think Steve mentioned on the show that was very, very interesting. Other teams have well. The things that me and Tina have seen as it relates to lights has always been lights going off and on, either in the room or a vicinity of the house or a portion of the house. Lost electricity, a spike in electricity. We've had TVs come on that are not plugged in. I've had microwaves come on. I've had the TV channel change by itself when me and Tina are 20 feet or more away from the remote control. But yeah, the TVs come on not plugged in, and how it got not to be plugged in is because it was coming on by itself when it was plugged in, and then the third time it did that, I unplugged it, and then it came back on again, and it was not plugged in.
What was on the screen when it came on?
Good question, because this was a Friday, and I was in my office, and Tina was downstairs, and the TV that came on was in our master bedroom. Neither one of us is even in the room that the TV came on in. But when it came on to a Katy Perry song. And I think the name of this song is Dark Horse or something. That's the name of this Katy Perry song. And you're in your room, and all of a sudden there's this loud music. It came on loud, like blasting music. And you're like, whoa. And Tina comes upstairs. I come upstairs, and the TV is on. It's showing a black channel, though, okay? But it's playing Katy Perry's song, Dark Horse. And the lyrics, because I looked up that song afterwards, and it's very interesting, the lyrics that was, because it kept repeating these lyrics. And I turned the TV off. We go back to our respective rooms. 5 minutes later, comes on again. Same song, okay? Same verse. But the screen is blank, all right? And it's the verse, and I don't know the song by memory, but it's saying some of the lyrics that Katy Perry is singing is, "Are you ready for the perfect storm? The perfect storm, because once you do this, you're mine on mine, and I'm about to take it up another level or whatever." It's called Dark Horse or something, the Katy Perry song. But this is 5 minutes later, and I'm like, why are we hearing the same song? This song should be over by now, but never mind that. I turn it off again. And this time I unplug it. and we go back to our respective rooms, and I'm documenting because I'm keeping a diary of everything that happens. And then it blasts again. Tina comes running upstairs. I come running down the hall. Same song. TV's got a black picture, and not the black that you have when you have the TV off. There's a different type of black. And it's playing the Katy Perry song, same verse and whatever, and the TV is not plugged into the wall.
So did you turn it? Did you hit the power button again on it?
I think, what do we do? I think I must have played with the remote control or power button again I think, what did we do? I think I put it on channel 3 or something to make it discontinue. And then we just left it unplugged for the rest of the night. It didn't happen anymore after that. But interesting enough, that was a Friday. The Saturday and Sunday was when the major activity began to happen that required us to get the first paranormal team. That Friday, just to put it in a time order for you, that Friday was 48 hours before the first Bible came back on fire.
And is that what pushed you to call a paranormal team then?
Yeah, the events of Friday and Saturday and Sunday is what made us call the first paranormal team to get them in there. They came in there Sunday morning or Sunday evening about 3 p.m. and left about 11:30. We went to bed about 1:45. About 1:34 Monday morning, Sunday night is when that Bible returned on fire. So the Katy Perry was Friday, a mass amount of activity Saturday, extremely mass amount of activity that Sunday, and then the paranormal team, they leave, we go to bed, and then the Bible fire.
What did the first paranormal team, what did they experience?
The name of that team is No Bull Paranormal. Jennifer is the admin or the lead investigator for that team. It's her and her 2 brothers and another associate. When they came there, we had so much activity. Me and Tina were just distraught. I mean, we were dialing 911 essentially based on the activity in the home. So when they walked into the house, all their equipment died. They walked in with cell phone and handheld devices, and it died almost as soon as they walked through the doorway. And when they walked in, I think one of them told us, it said, "Your house is humming." And we were like, "No, it's not. What are you talking about?" And they're like, "You don't hear that humming sound?" And they looked at the investigators start looking at each other like, "Yeah, your house is making a humming noise and all our equipment just died." And we didn't believe it. We were like, "Okay, we don't hear a humming, but we're glad you're here. Come on in." They're like, "Well, no, step out a little bit." And so me and Tina had to exit the house and stand on the front porch and then re-enter the house to where we heard the humming, because we had not set foot out the house yet. We had been in the house since Friday. And she said, "Do you hear that now?" And we heard it. And it took them 2 hours before they can recharge all their equipment again. But once they started getting rolling, they start picking up high EMFs, a few abnormalities or whatever in regards to voices. And the cameras that were set up in the hallway, they picked up mist coming from the floor. There was a white mist, if you will, coming from the hallway floor right outside my office in the guest bedroom. They picked up that. Jennifer, because she's also part Native American, was going to cleanse the hallway and all the bedrooms as a last procedure that night. So when she went upstairs to do that, her sage stick lit itself. She didn't have to put a match to it to light that. That's kind of weird because we know they hate sage now. We've got EVPs where they've said, "Don't do the sage," and she did the sage, or it lit the stick up. A few weeks or months after that, it would take all my sage sticks and write on the wall with my sage sticks. And yeah, it would take my, I say they're about 4 inches in length, but it would take it and write the upside down crosses or worse things on the wall with the ash from the sage stick, and then just outright take the sage stick, But yeah, the night she did that was the sage stick caught fire on its own, and of course, a few hours after that is when the Bible came back on fire. So they experienced that, and then just some of the anomalies that they later found on their cameras of a lot of orbs. And even Jennifer says, she said, I'm not a fan and believer of the orb thing. She said, I don't really go that route, but dude, you got some big orbs in your house. She's like, I normally don't introduce this to house occupants because the jury is still out on this stuff, but we can't make out what these things are. And they're the size of balloons and bowling ball.
Wow.
And they're all over your hallway.
So there's something in particular about that hallway for some reason.
Yeah, the hallway is the most active, I think, and that's where the gray lady, walks and paces and goes up and down. The armoire, we had to move it because it had been tossed so many times that it was just leaving too many holes in the hallway wall. One Bible caught fire in the hallway. I sort of got pushed in the hallway. We have 3 light fixtures, 3 lights that hang from the ceiling in the hallway, and they exploded. Tina was at home by herself. All the wiring got pulled out and yanked out. House looks a disarray. Glass is everywhere. The door got tore off its hinges. I think the hallway is sort of from a symbolic standpoint, it's just a traverse highway or gateway because it leads to every room upstairs. All the bedrooms are upstairs. I did find out that the room that my office was used to be the kid that had meningitis. That was his room. And then you think about the other activities in and around, especially the images that Steve caught on his motion cam, those little gremlin-like creatures, was in the hallway. The hallway, by a multiple use of tools, EMF, EVP, motion cam, sound, has a lot of some of the best phenomena caught.
A lot of this. Let me ask you this: what did it feel like when you got pushed?
I don't remember it per se because it was over as almost soon as it happened. I remember coming out of my office. I do that every day. I've been doing it for the last 2 years. You think if you're going to slip on a hallway or a step, you do it early on when you move into a house.
Right.
But I turned the corner. It's a 2-level stairway. I turned that corner and got to the top of the lower half portion. Still had about 11 steps to go down, and I just bit the dust. I mean, it was over before it happened. I remember laying on my back. I don't remember being pushed, but so much has happened. Maybe you're not going to remember it anyways. What I do remember is it just felt weird in the sense of the fall itself because I never had a slip issue before and never had one after, even though now I just hold on to the rail. But Steve and Dawn did ask questions in the hallway, in the stairway, and under the house because while they're there, they're trying to do several things when they're in my home doing an investigation. And one of the things is they're trying to find out is, do these spirits have any ill will toward Keith, or are we dealing with something dangerous? So we got to tell the client he needs to move. So Steve and Dawn would ask the question, especially Dawn, of, are there any ill intentions for Keith Linder? Did anybody push Keith Linder down the stairs? And the answer was a quick yes. They're like, yeah. So, and then I was like, okay, we got that. That was all right. And then they asked, well, why? And of course, they didn't say why. And they asked, well, do you have any more ill will? And of course, they said no. But they've admitted, and even Nikki and Carissa, when they came, they asked about the stairs, and they said yes. They've got female voices that said yes. Stephen Dong got the spirits to say we pushed them down the stairs. It wasn't I. They said we did. They said, yeah, we pushed them down the stairs. So they're using the personal pronoun of we and us. And that was very discerning to hear that because I always suspected that I was pushed, but I had nothing to base on because I don't remember being pushed. But that is the hallway, and the activity did spike after I got pushed. And the kid who was sick for a while from the previous tenant, they experienced all their activity while their son was near his death. I mean, it seemed when the activity died down for all of 2013, the push was, I don't know what their reason for pushing me in January 2nd of 2014, but it seemed like they needed something to re-get this thing going again because, yeah, it was a push. Or, I mean, that's what they said on the EVP, that they pushed me.
A lot of this stuff almost seems like it has an electrical source behind it. Even like when you talk about the woman walking down the hallway with the crumpling paper, it seems to me like that might sound a little bit electrical in the right circumstances.
Yes, the one thing, I'm glad you brought that up, because everything in this house, if you have to deduce it down to maybe what element is giving rise to all the phenomena. Now I'm talking about all the phenomena. I'm going to have to say it's going to have to be something electrical, because the link I'm going to send you, the one with Carissa and Nikki, that video is about an hour long, but you're not going to have to wait an hour to see the phenomenon I'm talking about. Is they put a doll on the couch. It's a motion detect doll, and they put 5 cameras on it, and we left the house. I think we got maybe 2 blocks or 2 miles away from the house, and we have a person in Massachusetts monitoring the house with the remote camera. So somebody is still watching the house, and they ping us as we're at the red light and says, the baby doll that y'all put on the couch is going off like crazy right now. Okay. We don't get back to the house till about 3 hours later. We didn't do a U-turn or anything. We just said, well, whatever happens, we got the cameras, they'll get it. When we came back 3 hours later and reviewed the video, a nanosecond, remember we got 5 cameras on, you can look at it at multiple angles. A nanosecond of you watching this video, you're going to see something very peculiar of before the baby does its yell or cry or whatever due to motion detected, the lights dim. And I don't mean the lights, the physical lights. There seems to be a cut or a insertion or maybe a depletion of energy in the house. Going back to how I said something always tips off before the actual phenomena takes place. It's an eye blink. If you watch it, magnify the screen, and you're going to see the room go dim for a nanosecond. And the time it goes dim for a nanosecond is not loss of electricity, because everything is plugged into a wall. It's not loss of power. Something triggers atmospheric, and that doll goes off. Now, we have another camera that's in the hallway that's not even facing the baby doll. The baby doll is in the living room downstairs. This camera is watching the hallway. And there's other cameras that are in each bedroom. Every camera, whether it's in a room that has light or has no light, and it's showing IR, infrared, every camera, independent of each other, does the same thing. Okay? Does the same thing. And 30 minutes later in the hallway, the motion cams, which are triggered by motion, go off. And they go off, I think we said 45 minutes nonstop. And that happened maybe 30 minutes after the baby doll goes off. And then the motion cams in the hallway go off. And we've seen instances, where power, electricity, spikes, almost like a concussion type atmosphere element, because you hear manufactured, it's almost like the sound is being manufactured. Even the banging has an electronic or electrical component to it. And that's what, I would like for others to drill down and try to find out, because when we first got the house and, you got to get utilities turned on and switched into your name, and then we started having problems with our electricity, the electricians and the power company would come and visit the house, and they could not ascertain or make heads or tails with the electricity problems that we were having. They checked all the sockets, they checked all the fixtures, they checked the boxes, they checked everywhere, and they said, you got some weird stuff going on, but we can't find the root cause of it. Same thing with the telecommunications. We had a landline in the home as well as our cell phones, and even that had some elements of electronic problems, spikes, or depletions. The phone company was like, we can't, you know, ascertain the reason why this stuff is happening.
Huh. How did Ghost Adventures get involved?
Ghost Adventures got involved because one of our neighbors had reported our activity to the local news. I think it was Cairo or Como, whatever CBS is in Seattle. But yeah, so they got wind of the phenomena and did a story on the house. The local news did, and the lady, the reporter, came to the house, and she came in around October, around Halloween, and she was like, "Hey, you know, we hear you got ghost problems. We want to do a piece on your story. You got burning Bibles and whatever." And kind of like the paranormal teams that come in, I know her mindset is, it's Halloween. We just need a story. We're gonna be getting in and out in 2 minutes. Well, she came in the house with her cameraman and set up and started to interview me, and she heard the loud banging. She heard loud banging, footsteps, and the loud banging phenomena, and she got scared. And it's even on her when you watch the segment. She's like, "Whoa, what is that?" And I'm telling her that's part of it. Well, she's a friend of Dave Schrader. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So she's like, "Okay, well, we're getting out of this house, but I think we may be able to give you some help. I know Dave Schrader, and I'm gonna have him call you tomorrow." And he did. Dave called me the next day. It was morning, and I never really knew of Dave Schrader, but he called and he asked me, I think, a few questions about the phenomena, when it started and whatnot, what was happening, previous tenants and whatnot. And then he said, "Well, you know, my name is Dave Schrader, and I work with Ghost Adventures, and if you know, we'd like to come down there and investigate your case." And I said, "Okay, well, I have to clear it with my you know, the landlord." And surprisingly, the landlord agreed. I was really shocked for the fact that the landlord agreed and how quick he agreed. I think I emailed him before I went to bed, and by morning, the landlord responded and said, "Sure, go for it." They came about 3 to 4 weeks later. Ghost Adventures did, and did their investigation.
Okay, now they're the only ones that didn't really find anything.
Right. Out of between about 7 teams, Ghost Adventures is the only team that did not find anything. I mean, they found 0. And I can't explain. I can't explain why. I kind of have a good sense as to why they found nothing. But no, they found nothing. Teams before them and after them found lots, and it was very interesting why they left with nothing. But I kind of know why now.
Why?
3 variables. One is Ghost Adventures were there for a short period of time. They were there their time window was very short, and by short I mean the actual investigation for them probably was 6 hours. Probably, I've seen teams come in my house that take 6 hours just to set up shop. Okay, it takes that long to get everything situated and set before they even begin their hunt. They set their investigation probably about 6 hours. But they were primarily there to do B-roll and B-filming, and a lot of what they set up production-wise, meaning a lot of what they had was infrared cameras, suppressed the spirits to not want to do anything. Steve and Dawn learned probably within 12 hours that the spirits respond negatively, meaning they don't respond at all when you have infrared cameras everywhere. And that seems to be the go-to device, and understandably so, of most teams. You got to get it on IR. Also, in addition to time and maybe suppressing the spirits while there to where the spirits don't want to respond, is Ghost Adventures took me and Tina out of the equation. Every team that came to the house, we were there. And when they told us to leave while they performed their lockdown, I think it was pretty much a sealed deal that they were not going to get anything. And you know, I had to believe no investigations, no 2 investigations are the same or identical. You have to adapt to whatever the environment is doing. And if me and Tina are there, we're the house occupants. You might want to keep us there because if the spirits are going to respond, they're probably going to be reaction off of what me and Tina, even if we're just standing in a corner. They didn't do that. They put us in a hotel, and I think it really much sealed their fate in addition to the time and the equipment constraints, because if you look at it, every other team that came in spent a lot longer in the home. Every team spent a day or 3 days. Carissa and Nikki spent 2 weeks. Carissa by herself spent 3 weeks. Steve and Dawn 3 weeks. And they all lived in the home. And they all kept us there. Now, we wasn't doing the investigation. We would just kind of sit around and twiddle our thumbs, but we were there. Also, they was not so much braggadocious in the sense of come out wherever you are. Steve and Don didn't really hit the ground running until day 2. Carissa, day 1.5. And they wanted to get acclimated versus just running there. And like I said, they're under a time constraint, a time window. And I think the investigations that Ghost Adventures do lends itself more beneficial to historic or resident hauntings or something to the effect of, hey, we got a ghost that died here that roams the stairway at night or something like that. Poltergeist cases are hard to discern. They are really, even if it is a poltergeist case, let alone an intelligent one that can choose when to act and not to act. I think that in itself, in a total, is why they left with zero evidence. They did have equipment malfunction, which I was sort of shocked why they didn't call attention to, because every team that's come in is always met and greeted with equipment malfunction. Steve and Dawn had an enormous amount of equipment malfunction. That's not the only evidence you can point to, but knowing that you have equipment malfunction means you should maybe want to pivot to see if it's random or something causing this equipment malfunction, because every team has had equipment malfunction, energy drainage when they come into our house, but they adapt and they pivot, and then the spirits pivot with them, and they're able to catch the phenomena during that pivot phase.
Now, they also kind of suggested that Tina might be part of the problem, didn't they?
Yeah, I think as a way to, there was 2 things they wanted to do with this situation as a result of not finding any evidence is, okay, maybe Tina is some of the cause going here. So they kind of orchestrated or edited the segment, if you will, that Zach had an uneasy feeling about Tina or the way she looked at him and whatnot. But that was just poor editing, and I think that was deliberate on their part to give their audience an antagonist, if you will, because they told that to us in our conversations. And keep in mind, once they left, they never communicated to us their findings until the show aired. But the whole thing, and I don't know if you've seen the episode, is
I have.
Zach and Tina are downstairs, and I'm coming downstairs, and it's pitch black. I mean, it's pitch black. And Tina is telling Zach that she smells burnt sage. And we've smelled burnt sage a lot in that house, and it's never a good situation. So she's trying to tell Zach, I smell burnt sage, and she's looking for it. She's honing in with her nose on where the sage is. Well, the sage, I don't know if it showed in the camera, it's a sage stick that Ghost Adventures was using as one of the props. So they set it on the kitchen table, and it was used in an earlier segment to show a reenactment of the sage stick that the other Jennifer said caught fire by itself. Well, that sage stick was sitting on the kitchen table. And so she's trying to home in around the kitchen island area of where that smell is coming from, because me and Tina know when we smell burnt sage, something's about to jump off. But she can't see Zach and he can't see her, so they kind of meet face to face. And what they put cut, or probably what hit the editing floor, was when they almost bumped nose to nose, Zach, he leaped back. He's like, whoa, like, where did you come from? And he was scared. And Tina blurted out, she said, Zach, stop acting like a sissy. She said that. And we all heard it, even the guys in the garage, and everybody busted out laughing. Okay? And we thought it was a lighthearted moment. I never even thought that part would even make it into the show because it seemed, you know, distracted. Because she said, Zach, stop acting like a sissy. And he laughed. I laughed. Tina definitely laughed. And the guys filming the whole thing in the garage definitely laughed. And that's the last we heard of it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So then 3 months later, when we see the episode, and we see that because we know it's building to that moment, we're like, oh, did they put that in there? I'm like, oh, this is going to be funny. But they did it. And they're like, I started feeling, because you have to understand, this is what people don't understand about the show is Zach's voiceover is done when he gets back to the studio. Okay? So he could put anything over the scene of his narrative and tell you what he was thinking or not thinking at the time. But I could tell you, honestly, that's not what happened when they almost hit head to head. Zach leaped back and was scared, and Tina said, stop acting like a sissy. But his voiceover, because you notice when they does that scene, that's Zach's voiceover. Okay? He's telling you, I'll get an uneasy feeling about Tina around this time when they meet head to head. But that conversation never took place. You see their reaction, but you don't see the laughter and Tina's comments soon after.
Yeah. Well, editing can do a lot.
Yeah. And then people were on the tangent of, oh, Tina's the, or some people, Tina's the I don't know, the whatever they call it, the agent, if you will, or something. And she caught a lot of the social media beat her up about it. She was very hurt by that whole thing because, like I said, we're okay with people not finding evidence because whether you find it or not, there's no skin off our teeth. But to put it in a position that Tina is, you know, probably doing none of this, but you have nothing to base it on except the fact that her and Zach almost butted heads by accident, but it's pitch black. And then to lean it toward that we over-exaggerated by you not finding any evidence whatsoever. Yeah, she was very hurt by that. I was upset. She was hurt by it.
Now, going into this, did Tina have a religious background or not?
About the same as mine. Yeah,
Okay.
about the same as mine. Yep.
Now, after this, how has your kind of viewpoints on stuff like that changed?
Oh man, wow. It's reaffirmed me. How can I say it's reaffirmed my belief that there is a life after this one. I don't necessarily know what that kind of life entails or is, but there is definitely a life after this one. These spirits that do have the ability to talk and enunciate words have given us and Steve and Dawn and other people their names, so to speak, while they're there. What do they do, big positive or negative? So my belief system, I ain't gonna say it's been turned upside down. It's just reaffirmed to me that, yeah, there's a life after this, whether we choose to go into this light or not, and maybe are stuck here, and we could possibly be one of these things when we expire. I don't know, but it's not made me abandon any previous beliefs because there's a lot of stuff I don't know, but I don't challenge it openly. I like to learn things and I like to discern, but I do know that there's a life and an energy. There's more we don't see than we see every day. And these things are one of the things that we don't see. So, yeah.
I also wonder if maybe the kid who got sick maybe somehow created the poltergeist phenomena to begin with, you know, unconsciously out of him, and it just stuck around.
I think that too. And because I had to be careful how I word my questions to the mom.
Sure.
Because I don't want to make the mistake that Ghost Adventures made with Tina with the mom is. But when she told me, and this I can share what she's told me, and she's given me permission to share what I can share to the public. But she said her son was autistic. He was autistic or is autistic before he developed meningitis, and just out of the blue developed a serious case, almost unknown case of meningitis. He was 6 years old, I believe, at the time, and this is when, around the time that they started experiencing the phenomena in the home. I asked her son, does he still experience anything now? She said, he still from time to time, of course he's older now, I think he's a teenager now, he still will sometimes come to her now and says he sees shadows out the corner of his eyes, or he sees shadows. I mean, this will probably never happen, but I would love to compare the shadows that he sees to the shadows that I've seen in that hallway, and in my office room that he had. I do know also that the mom, when the son was very ill and sick and near death, this brought about an extreme amount of stress on her and the family, and understandably so. And she told me some dark stories, some dark scenarios. I think some of that plays into the malevolent stuff happening in the home, or maybe some of the energy conjured up either by the son or the circumstances that created as a result of him being sick and the mom being unemployed at the time frame that he was sick. I was able to, when I found her on Facebook, because Facebook makes it, you can do this, of going through her timeline of when she was living in the house, of what this phenomena was, or when they were having the phenomena. And it was very dark. Her wall, she's one of those that will pretty much communicate and broadcast whatever she feels on her wall. And during that time frame, it was a very dark, almost darker, probably darker than me and Tina's. And it was displayed on her wall. And that made me think that probably plays into some of that. I think some of these spirits here are like a chameleon, if you will. They will take dark energy and put it on top of its head and run with it. And some of the worst phenomena me and Tina experienced was when we were going through our dark time, because it comes a stage in all of this to where the spirits started manipulating me and Tina and putting us at odds. I kept a well-detailed spreadsheet of the activity, and by time 2014, 2015 rolled around, I saw a bell curve, if you will, of some of the most dangerous activity was spiking when Tina and I were at odds with each other. And we would be at odds over the things that the spirit was doing, but we would blame each other. And then the spirit would take something and ratchet up even more. So it seemed like they are or will exploit, if not create the opportunity, and then exploit it, and then just turn it back around again. And it just repeats itself. Because, it got to be that way.
Yeah, it sounds like it was drawing from your energy, and then the more upset or tense things got, the stronger it got.
Yeah, it would get strong. I mean, we would have, you would have normal couple disagreements, right? And you would see the lights flicker in the house. The TV change, or you would see the lights go dim, or we would be in a room and have a disagreement, and Tina would walk out the room into another room, and a candle go flying across the hall or flying across the room. I mean, like bullets, or vice versa. And these things would get lodged in walls, and you would get upset or distraught because Tina would sometimes come home and I would already be home before her, and the house would be in disarray, and you would see the words "Die KL." I mean, they've written my name on the wall saying "Die KL." My name is Keith Linder, so they would write "Die" on my initials. They would write it on the lawn. They would write it inside my car.
What would they write it with?
Well, it's a black substance, just black. We found out last week after another Seattle team and myself finally took portions of the door and had it analyzed, and the substance is called black char. It's called a black char or bone black. Bone black is its original coin phrase. And bone black is pretty much animal bones.
Huh.
When we took the door to be analyzed, and it came back with a high concentrate of phosphate and calcium, and then had that analyzed again and again, the the people doing the analyzing deduced it down to they're 96% sure. Most of the wall writings in my home, because they're only going by what I gave them from the door, is a material. It's called bone black. It's a primarily buffalo or cow bones that is put to extreme heat. It's an old ancient painting technique. Various cultures do it. It's about 1,000 years old, and it's a painting ingredient procedure or process that takes bone deposit and under extreme heat drills it down to its bone or a powder form, and then it's used as paint. Rembrandt it was one of his favorite painting tools or techniques to utilize when he was trying to get his shadows and whatnot. He used bone black. I didn't know this at the time. I never heard of bone black, but once you Google the term bone black, you will see the history of it is very interesting. And once again, it ties into Native Americans. It ties into buffalo, because in North America, that was the main ingredient, or is the main ingredient of bone black. It's buffalo bones.
Now, do you still live in the house?
No, I moved out in May of this year.
Okay. And what were the events that eventually prompted you to say, "The hell with this, I'm leaving"?
It wasn't really an event. It was a substantiation of Dawn and Steve and Nikki and Carissa. When we got the house, there was a lot we didn't know. We came into the house blindsided. We overcompensated a lot. That probably made the activity spike or be unbearable. I did not feel comfortable leaving the house the way I found it with another family, especially with kids coming in. So I told myself that once Dawn and Steve and other teams came in to substantiate our claims and prove that, number one, the house is haunted, and maybe why it's haunted, this will make life easier for the other people coming in after me. So come May time, it was time for me to leave. 4 years is long enough. Dawn and Steve had concluded their second trip investigation. We had got a lot of the traction back due to the damage done by Ghost Adventures. And there's a vanilla folder or a flash drive of about 0.5 gig of data given to the homeowner, as well as the next tenants. To anybody who comes into this house, they would know that, hey, this house is kind of weird. Here's your things you might not want to do, but should things break out, these are people that you might want to call. And then I just pretty much had enough of it, in the sense of, it was just time to move on. 4 years is a long time. It did seem like the activity was trying to spike come April or May of when I moved out. So that was just the perfect time, coinciding with Dawn and Steve's last trip.
Okay, now I remember Steve and Jenny saying something about, like, you would be laying in your bed and you'd feel like a hand or something pushing up on your face through the pillow.
Yeah, that started happening late in 2014 and 15, but it really started getting more drastic after Steve and Dawn left the second time. When they came the first time, it was still happening, and to a degree, it's sort of happening now. But how that phenomenon goes down is I'm sleeping. I'm not even asleep yet, and you feel like animals or pets are jumping into the bed with you. You feel the bed indentions. You feel the like cat is walking its way towards you, but of course there's no cat. And then you get tugged. You get your ankles tugged, or your ankles pinched, or your toes tugged. And that happens all night. It's relentless, both sides. And they almost, upon immediately laying in the bed, that would happen. And it started happening more and more and more. And then it would ratchet up, in the sense of some nights the sheets would get yanked off you. If you're sleeping, the sheets would get yanked off you. And keep in mind, this has happened to me in hotels when I'm away from home, when I'm traveling on business. And then when Steve and Dawn were there, I told them about that being probably the only phenomena left that I wish would stop. And I was hoping that once I moved, that would stop. But the bed vibrations, mainly the mattress vibration. They did do several experiments on the master bed in the master bedroom, and got some crazy readings via EMF that sort of give weight to what I was complaining about. I think Steve also said on your show about the motion or vibration device he put on the bed that got thrown off the bed several times, literally thrown off the bed when the room was taped and sealed and nobody was entry. So yeah, and then I just felt that, well, if that's ever going to stop, I'm going to have to leave the house for that to stop.
Now, since you've moved out, has anything happened in the new place?
Two things happened the second or the first night in the house was the puddle of water. There's only been one other moment about the puddle of water. This is me waking up, going to work in the morning, and before I go to work, I was checking my email at my computer desk. I'm in a new place, haven't even been here 24 hours yet, and I hear tapping, tap, 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 repeatedly. It's like 5:30 in the morning, and I finally, it's like, what is that tapping noise? Because it's not stopping on its own, evidently. And I get up, and there's puddles of water on my kitchen table. Well, I look up, there's water dripping from the ceiling. Now, I thought, I'm like, okay, well, that water must be coming, because now I have neighbors. I'm in a townhome now. Now I have neighbors. And I'm like, well, there must be water coming from my neighbor upstairs. Well, I called the building maintenance. They get here about 30 minutes later. The water is still there. It's still flowing. The maintenance people even see it. The plumber sees it. And he goes knocking on the upstairs neighbor's door, because we're thinking maybe this is a faucet broke or aquarium spilt over, even though you're not supposed to have aquarium, or a bathtub overflowing. He already confirmed there's no pipes in the ceiling, but he wants to go talk to them. That's the only logical. So they open up their door. He tells them what's going on downstairs about water. They let him in, and there's no water anywhere. And he spends about 20 minutes up there, comes back down and says nothing is wrong upstairs. By the time he comes down, the water is stopped from the ceiling, but the puddle is still there. I don't go into details about him. I don't tell him, hey, I'm that guy from the crazy haunted house in Bothell. I just let nature of mechanics take his course, and he scratches his head and like, okay, well, can we come back to your house later and do our own investigation? And I said, yeah, sure. And I went to work. I'm not trying to relive this, but that happened on day one, and then the next day my car wouldn't start up. My car battery had died, and I can't explain why, but it's a new car. I bought that car 2 months before I moved here, but can't explain that one. And then pretty much nothing else. But there have been EVPs caught here in the new place, but no phenomena, nothing moving, nothing going from one side of the room to the other. But the bad stuff still happens in the new place, because that happens.
Really?
Yeah, the bad stuff still happens. And Dawn and Steve know that. Everybody's at their wits end how to make that stop, but that still happens. Some days are worse than others. I ain't gonna say it happens every night, but it does seem to spike up toward the weekend.
Huh. I wonder why.
I haven't had my sheets yanked off me in a while.
You're sounding muffled.
Oh, I was going to say, I haven't had my sheets knocked off me or yanked off me while sleeping in a while. That's only happened once in maybe the 7 months I've lived here already. And I've only had sheets yanked off me twice while in hotel rooms, while traveling, and then several times at the old place.
Huh. Now, has anyone moved into the old house?
Yes. The recommendation, and I was kind of surprised. Well, I wasn't surprised. I think the owner was ready to get rid of that house. But the advice was to let the house sit for 6 months or more.
Right.
And he sold the house within 6 weeks of me moving out. The economy in Seattle and Bothell was one of the fastest for housing markets. I mean, it's just blowing up. Houses stay available or on the market for 6 days. The average is 6 days. A house is on the market here. So the house sold pretty fast. I do know it's a family. The husband works at Microsoft, and it's a husband and wife with children. I have not met them. I'm friends with some of the neighbors in the neighborhood, and they've told me. But interesting enough, about 2 months ago, I'm at work, and one of the neighbors emails me and says, hey, the new tenants just put a blue door on the house. And I said, "Oh, a blue door," and I thought that was kind of interesting. Why a blue door? And I Googled what a blue door symbolizes for homes, and a blue door symbolizes you want to keep evil spirits out of the home. You want to keep negative energy out of the home, and you want to keep evil spirits out of the home. And that's the last update I got. I haven't driven by the house or try to reach out to the neighbors, for fear of contamination or influence or whatever. But I'm along the lines of Steve. The activity will present itself. It may not be this family. It may be the family after them. It may be a year now, or they may be having phenomena right now that they're just shrugging off, or they may be having phenomena that they're not shrugging off. I mean, they have a blue door on their house now.
So after all of this, do you see yourself as a different person than before you went into it?
Yeah, I'm forever moved. I'm forever moved by the overall. It's not just the phenomena, not just the witnessing, but the people I've come in contact. There's the positive responses, there's the positive support, and then there's the negative response and the negative support. But overall, yeah, I'm moved. Tina's moved. Friends and family are moved. I'm one of those type of individuals. I like to take lemons and turn them into lemonade. I try to view this as a learning experience. I don't want to try to because trust me, it can go dark if you let it. I can be curled up on my couch right now and looking over my shoulder the rest of my life. But I'm trying to turn this into a learning situation for me on a many different levels and fronts, because you learn a lot about yourself when you have entities attack you. You find out, number one, what you're made of, and you find out what you're not made of, and you just do a lot of reevaluating and measuring your strengths and weaknesses. And I'm trying to learn. It's just awesome phenomena, awesome data. It raises a lot of questions while answering a lot of questions I had before I would experience this. I never gave much thought to the afterlife. I never gave much thought to what is probably looking at me right now, and I just don't know it. Now I kind of know what's looking at us, and we just don't know it. So yeah, there's more of them than us. I can't honestly say. And once they realize you can see them or have an interest in them, they will make a V line to you. They will, and they call their friends. They will call their friends or their enemies once they realize that you have an interest or can possibly see them.
And are you and Tina still together?
We're friends. We're trying to work our way back into a relationship. Tina caught the brunt. I mean, I caught a lot of the physical and somewhat emotional aspect of this case because most of it I put on my shoulders. She took a lot of the emotional alone. Well, she had to witness some of the attacks on me, while at the same time deal with the emotional aspect of many people thought she was the cause agent.
Right.
That took a tremendous toll on her, as well as she had to stick by me at a lot of times where, we should have just got out and just let's not deal with this anymore. Let's just get out of here. But I talk to her every day, and she's kept up to date or is up to date on the case. The only difference between her and me is there is still a level of fascination of me wanting to know what and why this happened. Tina just don't care. She's just like, she's done with it. It's interesting if she can hear it in, happenstance or whatever. But for me, it's in the sense of, I can't just, let go of something that weighs 400 pounds getting tossed across the room
right.
with a room full of people. That's just, when people tell me their stories and I'm just like, oh, you saw that too. It's not just me. And they're like, yeah, it happened to me when I was 12 or when I was 14 or when I was 9. And I'm like, wow. And, you look at TV and people are talking about so many different things. To me, I'm like, why are we not talking about this? So it just,
Now, go on.
no, I'm just saying, it just seemed like this is such a unique topic to dissect and try to get the truth about, because there's a lot of people that have went through this. They just choose to remain silent. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people on the side who said they've had similar tales. They just didn't go as far as to making it known because the reaction they would get.
Now, has any of the experiences followed Tina afterwards?
No, and it's kind of.
Okay.
Let me just give you Tina. Tina's funny, and it's her persona. Whatever activity did follow Tina early on when she moved out of the house, 'cause she moved out of the house before me. Whatever activity did follow Tina, they got bored because Tina's not the one to acknowledge things early on, and that's been my curse. Part of my curse about this phenomena is I know, like, Tina will lose something and Tina just go buy something else. Oh, I lost a watch. And Tina just go buy another watch. Okay. If I lose a watch, I'm not buying another one. I'm going looking for my watch, and I'm putting cameras everywhere because I know I didn't lose my watch. It's just, we're just different in a sense. So I think if anything did follow Tina, they got bored of her long before she got bored of them because she doesn't acknowledge anything. And a lot of the things that we saw, Tina would she would throw it in the weird category and keep going by her business, where I would throw it in the weird category and I'm Google searching it.
Right. All right. Well, one more time, can you tell people where to find your stuff online?
Yeah. So for YouTube videos relating to this Washington State poltergeist case, my channel on YouTube, you can search it easily under Keith Linder or Keith L. That's where a lot of the videos from 2012 up until now, some of Dawn and Steve's videos on there, as other teams, as are my videos. There's a wide range of that. But case update info or evidence analysis is on the Facebook. Washington State Poltergeist is what it's named. So that's is where it's going to be a drill down of the evidence and some of the things captured by other teams and opinions given of the evidence captured. So those two places are the primary areas. Think of the YouTube channel as a video diary because it goes from 2012 up until now.
Okay. Well, I thank you so much for coming on and talking about this so we could get your perspective and everything, and just sharing these experiences, because hopefully it'll, help somebody else out there understanding better what might be happening to them at some point. Are you planning on writing a book about any of this or anything like that?
Yes, I am getting my notes together to write a book. I'm about 70% in with the book. I'm toward the end of 2014. And it's been a challenge because that's where some of the heavy stuff took place and just going down memory lane with that. But I want to write that. I want to get that out and get this phenomena in documented form for readers, because other people, like I said, can have an experience like this, be it in the future or already, and then maybe learn from this or whatnot. But definitely writing a book and just getting that narrative in book form.
All right. Well, let us know when that is done, and maybe we'll have you back on to talk about it in some of the other stuff that's happened.
Okay, yeah, will do. Sure, no problem.
All right. Thank you, Keith.
All right, thank you. Have a good one.